Plus with Dwight Gooden on the mound for the New York Mets. Dwight toweling down now as he gets ready to try and win 13 in a row. He has a record of 18-3. He leads the major leagues in strikeouts with 192, and the K corner getting ready to set up for action. So this is the way it looks on the scoreboard. The standings, the Mets a half a game ahead of the Cardinals, 5 up on the Expos, 14.5 up on the Cubs, 17 up on the Phillies, and the Pirates in last place, 35 back.
And the only team in baseball with a better record than New York, or the New York Mets, I should say, is the Toronto Blue Jays. They have a record of 73-45. So if the Mets were in the American League East, they'd be 1 game out and tied in the loss column.
As it is, Toronto leads the Yankees by 4 ball games, Detroit by 9.5, Baltimore by 10.5. Dwight Gooden's record, of earned run average of 1.82, the National League leader in that department. He has walked only 51, struck out 192, given up only 147 hits, and 203 innings of work. Dwight Gooden for the New York Mets.
And the lineup for the Giants. The Mets have not faced the Giants in some time. Dan Gladden, the left fielder, leading off. Brad Wellman at second base and batting second. Chili Davis, the fine switch-hitting center fielder, will hit third. And Dan Dreesen, a new acquisition from the Montreal Expos. He went over for a couple of young players and a pitcher. Chris Brown, the third baseman, batting fifth. Joel Youngblood, the ex-Met, in right field. Joel's been swinging the bat very well lately. He'll bat sixth. Bob Brenly, who is tied for the Giants' lead in home runs with 16, batting seventh. Jose Uribe, the fine slick fielding shortstop, batting eighth. And Jim Gott on the mound.
And the defense for Dwight Gooden. Hernandez, Backman, Santana, and Johnson first to third. Foster, Dykstra, Strawberry left to right. And the catcher, Gary Carter. The umpires for the game tonight: Bob Engel behind home plate, Dave Pallone, the umpire at first base, Tom Hallion, the umpire at second base, and Jim Quick, the umpire at third. Mets in home games with the best record in the National League, 40 wins, 19 losses. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Mets and WRTV and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and WRTV is prohibited. Jim Davenport, the beleaguered manager of the San Francisco Giants, a fine third baseman for the Giants. Outstanding competitor as a player.
He won the Gold Glove back in 1962. That was the first year the Mets were in operation. Of course, that year they lost 120 ball games. Come a long way, baby.
120 wins would be nice, wouldn't it? 116, the most any team ever won. The Chicago Cubs back in the early 1900s. And now it's Dan Gladden to lead off. Gladden, a fine hitter last year, struggling this year, hitting .228. Gladden hit over .350 for the Giants last season, and a fastball by Gooden. Gladden this year hitting .222 against the Mets. No home runs, no runs batted in. He does have 25 stolen bases and 35 attempts. And the fastball popped up. Playable for Keith Hernandez. And the first out of the game. Gooden picks up his first batter. Now he'll try Brad Wellman. Wellman has not batted against the Mets this year. Overall, he's hitting .252. No home runs, 13 RBIs, and he has sort of taken the job away from Manny Trillo at second.
Manny Trillo, 2 for his last 29 as a batter. Brad Wellman, a scrappy type of player and a pretty good number 2 hitter, contact batter.
And the first pitch, ball 1.
San Francisco, last in the league in hitting with a .231 average. They just have a tough time getting runners on base.
And it's fouled away, so the fastball for the strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Giants have hit 81 home runs, and they've had 72 stolen bases. But that .231 batting average, the lowest in the league. Giants sort of noted for hitting, but not this year. List of outstanding hitters that the Giants have had over the years. I guess you'd have to say it was led by Willie Mays. Chili Davis, the on-deck batter, and the fastball fouled away.
Yeah, their pitching this year is They've really done a good job. They were leading the National League in pitching for about 2 months. Now they're fifth. 3.30 ERA, not too shabby.
They come off 2 fine pitching performances against the Dodgers. Again, a foul ball, so the count stays at 2-2. They beat the Dodgers 2 straight games, but they have been struggling other than that. They have not given up an earned run in their last 16 innings. San Francisco pitchers. And the first curveball by Gooden, ball 3. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Giants have lost 15 of their last 19 road series. Fastball hits out to right field. Strawberry coming hard, can't get to it. And the first hit of the ball game. Little blooper with Strawberry playing deep and right, unable to get to it.
Yeah, he sure was. He was playing very deep for Brad Wellman. He has no home runs this year. He did have a big home run against the Mets last year against Jesse Orozco. Beat him a ball game and a doubleheader out there. And at that time, it was a key game. The Mets did not play well against the Giants last year.
Losing record against the Giants. They won 4 and lost 8. And now the batter would be Chili Davis.
And they won 4 this year, so they can go no less than 4 and 8 this year.
Good curveball by Gooden. His first curveball strike. They have won 6 of the last 9 games against the Mets at Shea Stadium. Chili Davis hitting .267 for the year with 10 home runs, 43 RBIs. And a line shot to right field. Wellman goes to second and then on to third as the ball is bobbled. The throw in is cut off, and Chili Davis stops at first base. So Chili Davis hitting .316 against the Mets this year continues.
Well, he got this ball down. That's what you have to do against Gooden. You've got to make him get the ball down, and Chili Davis did that. Ball took a tricky hop on Darryl Strawberry, and now the Giants have runners at the corners here in the first inning.
And the batter, the newcomer to the Giants, Dan Dreesen. Dreesen hitting .246 for the year. 7 home runs, 30 RBIs. Coming to the Giants from the Montreal Expos. So to first base. Chili Davis back. Chili with 14 stolen bases.
Darryl Strawberry was given an error on that base hit to right field. That was a tough hop it took.
And the fastball, and they count 1 ball and no strikes. Wellman was going all the way on that ball. He had not stopped at second. He was going to first to third it. Don't believe that Strawberry would have had a play on him, even though he has one of the great arms. And again to throw to first base, Davis just back. Close play.
Sure was. The Giants have only faced Gooden 1 time this year, so they are not really looking for that move. Dwight Gooden with a much improved pickoff move to first base.
1 ball and no strikes. And the fastball just low. 2-0. In Dwight's last outing, he got off to a shaky start.
Worked 5 innings against the Phillies,
Left the ball game leading 6-5. The game later on tied up, so he got a no decision. Runner goes. The pitch is taken. The throw down to second is in time. And Chili Davis out attempting to steal second with a runner at third.
I can't believe Chili Davis was thrown out with that jump. What a throw by Carter. You saw him look at third. Chili Davis just stopped when he hit the ground. Watch him hit and stop. That dirt still a little wet from the watering down of the infield about a half hour ago.
Certainly looked like he was safe, especially from this angle.
There's the hand in and now the tag. He was safe.
But not according to second base umpire Tom Hallion. And now a strike call, and it's 3-1.
And not a good play either, Ralph. You run in that situation with 1 out.
Count of 2-0, too.
Yeah. You got to let your cleanup hitter go to hacking and pick up the run.
And the curveball, it's ball 4. So good. Now again with runners at first and third, this time with 1 out, and the batter will be Chris Brown.
Number 35.
make that 2 men out. Brown hitting at .276 with 12 home runs, 47 runs batted in. He leads all rookie National League third basemen in home runs with 12. And he leads the major leagues in RBIs with 47 for rookies. And that pitch fouled away.
Before that caught stealing, by the way, Chili Davis had stolen 8 straight bases. Carter made a great play on that. He looked the runner back, Wellman at third base, and he threw all in the same motion. That was some kind of throw, but still a bad base running play by Chili Davis.
And the batter, Chris Brown, batting with a 1-strike count. Brown attended the same high school as Darryl Strawberry. He was a year ahead. They're good friends. Brown, an outstanding baseball player at the high school in Los Angeles, Crenshaw High School. And the 1-strike pitch, good curveball. And Gooden in front with a 2-strike count.
Boy, this is a nasty equalizer right here. Man, that ball went down. No sense in trying to set up a guy like Brown with Gooden. With that stuff, go right back to the curveball. We'll see how he works it.
The 2-strike pitch. Back to the curve, it hangs high. So the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brown hitting .276. And they're trying to get that first K up there for Dwight Gooden. One and 2. And again the curveball. Again, curveball hanging high. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Gooden's last outing, he could not get the curveball over. It was an extremely hot, humid day. The temperature in the 90s, the humidity in the 90s, and he had trouble gripping the ball. But here tonight, it's not that hot, although a lot of humidity. 2-2. Fastball, and the count goes to 3 balls and 2 strikes. They do not appeal the play to first base umpire Dave Pallone. So full count, that means the runner at first base, Dan Dreesen, will be running with the pitch. Hernandez dropping behind him. And the runner goes, and the ball is fouled back out of play. On deck batter, Joel Youngblood, a familiar face.
Good fastball hitter, and so is Chris Brown. Brown has 12 home runs. That's more home runs than any other National League rookie, and he leads all Major League rookies with 47 RBIs. He can handle the heat.
Good-looking hitter. Good-looking player. Again, the 3-2 pitch. It's ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So in this inning, 2 singles and 2 walks, but the Giants still have not scored.
In Dwight Gooden's last 3 ball games, he's had trouble in the first inning. If you remember back on the 10th of August against the Cubs scored twice against Dwight in the first. He ended up winning that game. And then against the Philadelphia Phillies scored twice.
Now it's Joel Youngblood at the plate, hitting .273 for the year with 3 home runs and 16 RBIs and 161 official at-bats. Youngblood's hitting 1,000 against the Mets this year. He's 1 for 1. And as Tim pointed out, he's a good fastball hitter. And he gets a fastball. He's been a hot batter, as you can see there, .397 over his last 21 ball games. Back to the curve, and that one in there. It's strike 2.
Dwight Gooden with that good curveball. He had Chris Brown 0-2 and lost him, but he's winding up now, and he has a much better curveball from the windup than he does from the stretch. Really pump off that back leg when he's winding up.
Hit that body motion behind it. The 2-strike pitch. Fastball, and Youngblood fouls it. So the count remains at strike 2 as the Giants threaten with the bases loaded. 2 men out in the top of the first. Wellman, the runner, at third base. Dreesen at second base, and Brown at first. And a clean-shaven Joel Youngblood at the plate. Youngblood usually about this time of the year starts to grow a beard for that hunting season. Again, the 2-strike pitch and a curveball. This time it's pulled foul, so the count does remain at strike 2. Youngblood, the only player to play in 2 different cities for 2 different teams in the same day. Traded by the Mets when the Mets were playing in Chicago. He flew to Philadelphia and played a net ball game.
He got a hit in both games.
And got a hit in both games, playing for Montreal and the Mets. And again, the 2-strike pitch. Curveball, did he swing? And he did. So Youngblood struck out on the half swing on a ball in the dirt. Carter makes a tag to complete the strikeout, and the Giants threaten but do not score. Giants no runs on 2 hits and 2 walks, a runner thrown out, 3 men left on base, and the score at the end of 1/2 inning. The Giants nothing, the Mets coming up. Now here's a word from Budweiser. Jim Gott on the mound for the San Francisco Giants. He has a record of 4-13, an earned run average of 3.57, make that 4-8. He has walked 40, struck out 58, given up 104 hits in 113 innings. And he'll be working against the Mets in this lineup.
Well, the Mets dodging bullets in the top of the first. Giants stranding, the bases loaded. And on the strikeout by Youngblood, Len Dykstra leading it off, playing center. Wally Backman with game-winning hit last night's ball game will bat second. Keith Hernandez, the first baseman, hitting third. Gary Carter behind the plate batting fourth. Right fielder Darryl Strawberry will hit fifth, and left fielder George Foster batting sixth. Howard Johnson at third, batting seventh. Rafael Santana, the shortstop, hitting eighth. And Dwight Gooden on the mound will bat ninth.
And the defense for the Giants: Greason, Wellman, Uribe, and Brown first to third. Gladden, Davis, and Youngblood left to right. The catcher is Bob Brenly.
Leading off.
And we said that Youngblood was tagged for the completion of the strikeout. It wasn't that way.
It's really an interesting play. Youngblood went around. Now watch Carter go to tag him. He just steps on home for the first play. Kind of neat, I think.
And another good job by Carter getting that ball out of the dirt.
It really was on that ball. He made 2 super plays last night on balls in the dirt, and a key strikeout of Hubie Brooks with Andre Dawson on third and only 1 out.
And now it's Len Dykstra, the leadoff for the Mets, hitting .261. 1 home run, 17 RBIs. Dykstra in his last 11 games has had 11 hits and 8 walks. He is an on-base type hitter. He tries to work his way on there any way he can. And Jim Gott with a lifetime record against the Mets of 0-1. Last year at Toronto, he won 7 and lost 6. His overall major league record, 25 wins, 38 losses. And he throws a fastball. Strike 1. Dykstra has not batted against the San Francisco Giants this year. And the breaking ball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Jim Gott kind of jumps at the hitter. That's where his success is. Obviously, he throws fairly well. Pretty good control. But kind of a dart thrower, but with an unusual windup. Never liked facing guys like that. Ralph, you felt like you had to rush along with him.
And he comes back with a fastball and gets it in there. Home run average at 3.57.
I used to like those guys with those nice, deliberate wind-ups, throw about 78 miles an hour, not too much on it, but I never found him.
Never could find one, not in the major leagues. And the breaking ball, and Dykstra foul tips it into the glove, and he is struck out. So 1 away, and that'll bring up Wally Backman. Wally batting at .305 for the year. 1 home run, 28 RBIs, and Backman has been a hot batter. In his last 18 ball games, he has batted .408, and he has hit in 17 of the 18 games, scoring 16 runs. The .305 average is 4th best in the National League. Willie McGee leads in the National League at .361. Tommy Herr at .326. Pedro Guerrero is at .324, and then Wally Backman. Backman with the game-winning RBI in last night's ball game. He doubled over the center fielder's head after a pinch hit double by Danny Heath. Went for the fastball at strike 2. The guy in the American League for Toronto had a record of 21-30. He has missed some action. Hit by a line drive off the bat of Ivan De Jesus, and he missed 2 starts that way. And he also had to leave a ball game because of a split fingernail.
Jim Gott came to the Giants. As you look at Keith Hernandez on deck, he came over in the Gary Lavelle trade. Gary Lavelle and Bill Caudill doing a fine job for the Blue Jays.
And it's grounded to the second baseman, Wellman. 2 men away. So 2 men away, no score in the ball game, and the batter will be Keith Hernandez. Keith hitting at .294 for the year, 8 home runs, 69 RBIs. Club leader in runs batted in with his 69. He also leads the National League in game-winning base hits. Keith with 19. Closest to him, Willie McGee with 13, Dave Parker with 13, and Pedro Guerrero with 13. And the fastball, a called strike. Keith Hernandez from San Francisco. And his dad is watching this ball game, I'm sure.
Dad John, who we are told was some kind of slick fielding first baseman. He sired somebody who was a pretty good first baseman, too. I'll tell you that.
1-1 the count to Keith Hernandez. Keith is hitting only .118 against the Giants this year, 2 for 17. And the count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike. Keith's father watches him on a dish in San Francisco, and he checks out to see whether or not he can see the number 1 of his number 17. He saw it that time. That means that Keith is doing a little recoil action before he goes into a swing, which is what all hitters should do, if they can do it.
And when you trigger back like that, that front shoulder stays in there, and that is one of the big keys in hitting. Front shoulder. Just take a look at it.
And a line drive base hit by Hernandez. Patented Keith Hernandez hit to the opposite field.
Liner to left. Now look at that front shoulder. The hands bring the shoulder through. Liner to left. You hit the outside pitch the same way you do the inside pitch. The difference is position of the bat. See where he hits that? Right over the plate. If that ball were inside, in order to hit it well, you have to have more bat extension.
Got to meet the ball out farther in front of home plate to pull the ball. And now the batter will be Gary Carter. Carter hitting .264, and he pops it up. Right fielder Joel Youngblood making the call. And that retires the side. 1 hit, 1 man left on. And the score at the end of 1, the Giants nothing, the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from Burger King. Top of the 2nd inning. And there are 4 Mets fans.
All right. Where's Valley Stream?
Long Island.
Long Island? Okay.
And Bob Brenly will be the leadoff batter for the Giants. No score here in the top of the 2nd. Brenly hitting .217, but he has 16 home runs and 39 RBIs. Brenly has a chance to lead the club in home runs, and he would be the first catcher to lead the Giant club in home runs dating back to the 1800s, when a catcher named Buck Ewing led the club in home runs.
Oh, Buck.
You remember him.
Oh, yeah.
1895. Brenly, if he hits 20 home runs, will become a catcher who hit home runs over 20 home runs in 2 consecutive seasons, and that will date back to when Wes Westrum was the last Giant to do that. Tries to bunt, though, no home run there, and it's fouled away, and it's strike 2.
Bob 0 for 5 against the Mets this year, but last year he just tore up Met pitching. Had 4 home runs, 15 RBIs against New York last year. 2 game winners.
2 strikes to count as Dwight Gooden works to Bob Brenly. And he goes to the curveball, and that's strikeout number 2. Both of his strikeouts have been on curveballs in the dirt.
And it's so important to establish this pitch early. And if Korner has helped Gooden with one thing, the same way with Darling, it's establishing the breaking ball the first time through the order. National League scoreboard, Padres and Expos no score. Pirates over the Reds 1-0. Cubs and Braves no score in the second. 3-0. The Phillies out in front of the Dodgers in a hurry. And the Cardinals at Houston a little bit later on in the Dome.
And it's Jose Uribe to lead off here. And his first pitch is high for ball 1. Dodgers leading the Cincinnati Reds by 8 games and the San Diego Padres by 8. Uribe hits it right back to Dwight Gooden. And with those great reflexes, Gooden comes up with the ball. It looked like it was behind him, between his legs.
Really did. A lot of other sports will help you play baseball well, and one sport is basketball. Basketball with the quick reactions. Gooden, of course, a tremendous high school basketball player with those long fingers. You mentioned that the other night. That's why he gets that rotation on that curveball like he does.
Shaking hands with Sandy Koufax one time, and I have big hands, and Koufax's fingers extended an inch beyond mine. Now the batter is the pitcher, Jim Gott. He swings and misses, strike 1. Gott hit 2 home runs in 1 ball game earlier this year. Did it against the Dodgers. And he goes after the curveball. And the count at strike 2. Last Giant pitcher to hit 2 home runs in 1 game was Dave Kozlov. Gott hit his 2 off of Bob Force. That was against the Cardinals. And strike 3. So Gooden gets his 3rd strikeout. He now has 195 for the year. And the score, after 1.5 innings, the Giants nothing and the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover. Bottom of the 2nd inning. The Mets now tied with the Giants, 0-0 after 1.5. And in the American League, Rangers and Red Sox, no score, top of the 3rd. Blue Jays and Indians, no score, top of the 3rd. Royals and White Sox, no score, top of the 1st. And the Yankees later against the Angels, Tigers later against the A's, and the Orioles later against the Mariners. And the Twins and Brewers, no score, top of the 1st. No runs scored in the American League. No runs scored here as Darryl Strawberry will lead off for the Mets. And coming in for the play-by-play, the man who had his share of home runs, Tim McCarver.
Well, my share, yeah, I had 2 rained out, and I ran past a runner once. That had given me 100. Over 18 years, that was about 6 a year, 7 a year, something like that. Nowhere near the 368 you hit, pal. Your lifetime average, 279.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
Know that.
Johnny Bench hit 326 as a catcher, the most by a catcher.
Yeah. Gary Carter had 215 when he came to the Mets. He has 17 now. So Gary with 232 lifetime homers. And Darryl Strawberry is going to have his share before he retires. I'll tell you that. He's tied with Carter and Foster for the lead. All have 17. 1-1 to Darryl Strawberry. Darryl batting .267.
And he has not batted against the Giants this year.
Had that damaged thumb when the Mets played the Giants. Mets 4-1 against San Francisco. Fastball misses, 2-1. Mets 12-4 and their best record ever in the month of July. Last year they were 21-9 in the month of July. So Darryl Strawberry draws a base on balls to open up the 2nd inning. First walk issued by Jim Gott, and the batter will be George Foster. George hitting .251, and as we said, tied with Carter and Strawberry for the home run lead.
Darryl now with 46 walks. And he has been up officially just 247 times.
You know, Ralph, I think he's improved in that category. I think he's a little bit more selective this year. He's got a ways to go, but that will come with age, right? And confidence.
He is better.
Fastball for a strike. 0-1 to George Foster.
You know, Tim, getting back to that, that is how you do mature as a hitter, because you then learn that you got pitches that you want to hit and you got pitches you can't hit and shouldn't swing at.
Yeah, you don't take balls because you want to draw base on balls. You're working a pitcher, actually. When you take balls out of the strike zone, you know when he's behind in the count, he's got to come to you.
Well, a good example is this game. Gooden has struck out 3 batters. They've all been on pitches out of the strike zone, all curveballs.
All breaking balls. 1-1 to Foster. Outfield deep and straight away. Darrell diving back. Darrell has 17 stolen bases on the year. He's been caught 6 times. Jim Gott originally signed with the Cardinals, a number 4 selection back in '77. There goes the runner, and Brindley can't hold on to it. That'll happen with that mitts. You try that quick release, and sometimes that ball pops out of there.
Mets get their 86th stolen base out of 124 attempts. They've been successful about 67% of the time, and no throw at all as the ball is dropped by the catcher, Bob Brindley. Brindley was a converted catcher. He started out as an infielder, outfielder.
So the pitch was a strike, and it's 1-2 to George Foster. Ground ball left side. Uribe. Bad throw and a good play by Dreesen. I'll tell you, that's the play. Had Strawberry not gone back to second, he can go to third after that throw.
Look at it again, a high chopper, and with the ball in front of him, Strawberry wisely does not go. Right here, he might have been able to go over.
Third baseman.
And look at it from this angle. Uribe, the shortstop, doing a good job defensively.
No way he even looked him back to second base, and it would have been important with 1 out for Strawberry to have been at third. It's a tough play and a very technical play, but if you're alert, you can do that. Uribe not paying any attention to Darrell. Here's Howard Johnson. Fastball is low. No score, just getting underway. Doc Gooden on the mound for the Mets. Jim Gott has pitched well against the Mets this year, even though he's 0-1. He has started twice, and Mets have scored 2 earned runs in 12 innings against Jim. 2-0.
San Francisco has been shut out 4 times with Gott on the mound. They have not scored for him in 4 ball games.
Kind of the story of their pitching staff. They're Jim Gott 4-8.
And Jim Davenport, the manager, has to suffer through it.
Tough racket. Three 3-0 to Howard Johnson. We'll see if he gets a hit sign here.
On deck batter Rafael Santana.
He is not hitting, and the ball a little bit high. San Francisco has been shut out 12 times this year. Pittsburgh leading the National League. They've been shut out 14 times. There's Jimmy. Jimmy played in the 1953 and 54 Sun Bowl as a running back for the University of Southern Mississippi down in Hattiesburg.
He can handle that golf club, too.
Woo, can he hit a golf ball? Great deer hunting down near Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Ralph.
Really?
Yes, sir. Well, the newest acquisition of the Mets, Larry Boa, 16-year shortstop in the major leagues.
All-time best fielding percentage by shortstop, .980.
And the regular shortstop, Rafael Santana, takes a fastball inside. Second walk issued by Gott. Mets have runners at first and second and 1 out. No score in the second. Line drive, base hit up the middle. Strawberry will test Davis's arm, but not anymore. 1-0 Mets. Davis came in, the ball came up on him a little bit, and Strawberry scored without a play.
Well, Rafael Santana getting his 23rd run batted in and putting the Mets on top 1-0. And here it is on the replay. Fastball hit right back to the middle. Davis has a play at the plate here if he fields the ball cleanly, but he bobbles the ball and he loses a chance to throw Strawberry out. And once again, Santana coming through in that 8th batting position with a big base hit to center field. Davis charging the ball very well, but that's probably why he fumbled the ball. He was in too much of a hurry. So Strawberry scores. The Mets lead 1-0.
Gooden bunting and Bob Brenly. If he had dropped that ball, it'd been interesting.
Well, Gooden wasn't running.
Drop that ball and throw it to first. That's why you run everything out in fair territory. But if he drops that ball before it hits his mitt, you probably have a double play on that ball.
Here's the bunt. It's popped up. See, Dwight doesn't leave the batter's box. And the runner at second base holding there. If he drops the ball, he could go third to first for the double play.
You could almost go third to second because both runners said you could do anything you wanted to do on that play. But it's first and second, 2 out now. Lenny Dykstra, the batter.
Who was good at that play was Tom Seaver.
Yeah, he and Tug McGraw used to work that. Tug worked it very well. As a matter of fact, Tug told me that he and Tom used to work on that play in spring training. Said that Casey Stengel.
Mets have a 51-11 record in games which they have scored first, and they have scored first in this game.
1-0 to Dykstra. 2-0.
That stat looks very impressive, but it isn't that impressive because the team that scores first in the ball game wins 70% of the time.
Johnson at second, Santana at first. 2 out. Mets up 1-0. Ground ball, base hit right field. Johnson's going to score. Santana to third. 2-0 New York.
Well, then Dykstra rapidly becoming a Met fan favorite as he singles in another run. Johnson does not draw a throw. Youngblood, who has a great arm, fires at the third, but no chance there. And the Mets take the lead by a score of 2-0. As Dykstra gets the run batted in for Lynn, his 18th RBI. Santana to third base on the single.
Wally Backman, the batter. Dykstra a threat to run. He has 11 stolen bases. He's been caught twice. Fastball wide, 1-0. One of the little bitty things in the game, it was Dykstra last night with Heap at second base who hit the ground ball to the right side to get Heap to third with 1 out. That pulled the outfield in, and Backman doubled over Herm Winningham's head. Ground ball, fair ball. And Danny Dreesen steps on the bag, but the Mets on the board with 2 runs on only 2 hits, 2 big walks, and they both scored. And they stranded 2. After 2-0. We'll go to the third after this word from Gatorade.
National League's one team, the New York Mets, take on the San Diego Padres in an exciting doubleheader. Tune in Friday evening at 5:30 right here on Channel 9.
Top of the third inning, 2-0 New York. Dan Gladden 0 for 1. He popped to first base his first time up. Dan entered the game batting .228. 0-1 to Dan Gladden. Talk about a tale of 2 seasons. What about Dan Gladden last year and this year, Ralph?
Gladden hit .397 at Phoenix in Pacific Coast League, leading the league in hitting when he's brought up the Giants, where he hit .351.
1-1. Gladden, 27 years old, from San Jose, California. An interesting story about San Jose, huh? The Giants may know the way to San Jose before next year's through.
Well, the rumors are many about the Giants moving to San Jose if they don't get a new ballpark in San Francisco. And it was on the ballot at one time, but the mayor of San Francisco taking it off the ballot the last time they voted. There's rumor that it might go back on.
1-2 to Dan Gladden. Got him with the fastball. For the first time tonight, Gooden uses his fastball as his terminating pitch. 4 strikeouts and 1 out here in the third.
And all 4 strikeouts have been on pitches out of the strike zone. This one down below the knees.
That again is unusual for Gooden. Usually if hitters swing at balls out of the strike zone, more often than not, they're fastballs up around the letters. Brad Wellman, 1 for 1. Brad single to right field his first time up. Look at that career average against the Mets. That 1 home run against Orozco last year. Well, Dwight Gooden is showing that it doesn't take long to warm up a Rolls Royce, does it, Mookie? Breaking ball wide and low, 1-2. Well, the Mook had his shoulder operated on about 5 weeks ago, and the Mets are hoping that he'll be back before the end of the season. You can expand to a 40-man roster in September, of course. Wellman stays alive.
Right now it's a 25-man roster, and the Mets got an open position on their roster for Larry Bowa by putting Ron Gardenhire back on the disabled list.
Even if Mookie can't swing the bat or play center field in September, he can certainly run, can he?
One of the best base runners around.
Good breaking ball, tapped toward third, and it's foul. The Giants have changed their coaches for tonight's game. Rocky Bridges at third base. The great Rock. He is a piece of work. Tom McCraw, the hitting instructor, is the first base coach. There's Rocky.
An old teammate of mine.
Mine too.
Maybe a lot of other.
2 generations teammates. Wellman did not go far enough to it too. 2-0, New York on top. RBI singles by Santana and Dykstra. Played at Strawberry and Johnson in the second. Got him with a fastball. Gooden has now struck out 5 of his last 6 batters, all swinging.
Oh, we look at it again. This is a borderline pitch. Did he get the outside corner? Pretty close. And he just threw it right on by him. Gooden now with a total of 197 strikeouts. Only Herb Score has struck out 200 or more batters in his first 2 years in the major leagues.
Here's Chili Davis, who singled his first at bat. And a key play that turned around some early momentum was Davis being thrown out on a steal attempt with runners at first and third and only 1 away. Then Gooden walked Dan Dreesen and Chris Brown, but he got Joel Youngblood on a strikeout to get out of bases loaded trouble in the first. Since then, he's been perfect. 1-1. Herb Score and Dwight Gooden have more than that in common. Before last year, Herb Score was 245 strikeouts, the most ever by a major league rookie.
And Dwight knocked that out of the box.
Ooh, what a jug that was. A yellowhammer. Man, 1-2. That was a big league curveball there, wasn't it? Another curveball, a little low. 2-2 to Davis.
Boy, he's getting a lot of rotation on that curveball tonight. Contrast to his last outing when the ball was slipping out of his hand. Gooden struck out 276 batters last year as a rookie for the all-time record.
Breaking ball is high. 3-2 to Davis. Charles Chili Davis. Chile has 10 home runs this year, 43 RBIs. Base hit, center field. 2 hits in a row for Davis. He's the runner at first with 2 out, and the batter's going to be Dan Dreesen. 3rd hit for the Giants on the night.
Oh, after just missing with the curveballs, he comes back with a fastball on a 3-2 count, and Davis gets it. And that base hit coming with 2 men out.
So Chili Davis is on. Dan Dreesen walked his first time up. Breaking ball and a beauty. 0-1 to Dreesen. Danny batting only .214 as a Giant, but he did have his first home run in a San Francisco uniform last Wednesday against Nolan Ryan. So he can turn you around. Ground ball, 3rd base. Good play, Johnson over to Backman. No runs, a hit, no errors, and 1 left in the 3rd. And after 2.5, it's 2-0 New York. We'll be right back after this word from Burger King. Well, a school less than a month away. You fans 15 years old and younger will want to be at Shea next Sunday on Swing Line Back to School Day when the Mets meet the Padres 1:35. That's because all fans 15 years old and under will receive a free flexible 3-ring binder courtesy of Swing Line, the world's #1 stapling company. As an added bonus, each binder will contain a 1985 Mets team picture, thanks to our friends at All Channel Satellite of Queens, and of course All Channel sell and install satellite receivers. That's Back to School Day, free binders for fans 15 and under from Swing Line. Sunday, the Mets and the Padres 1:35.
And starting with tonight, the Mets are in town through next Tuesday with 8 games remaining on the homestand. The Giants and Mets play night games tomorrow and Thursday, both games beginning at 7:35. Then Steve Garvey and the San Diego Padres come to Shea for 4 games this weekend, beginning with a twilight doubleheader on Friday at 5:35. Following a night game on Saturday, it's Swing Line Back to School Day on Sunday afternoon. The 9-game homestand ends with a pair of night games next Monday and Tuesday against the Western Division leaders, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tickets are available for all games and can be purchased at Shea's advanced ticket window or through Ticketron or Teletron. So come on out to Shea and catch the Mets as they battle for the lead in the Eastern Division of the National League.
Never really thought about it, but you and Steve Zabriskie and I have children in different stages of their lives. Yours, of course, are finished with the college. Mine are right in college and high school, and Steve's are yet to go to college. Or grade school.
I feel sorry for Steve.
You're telling me that the costs are going to be a little higher in a few years.
It might be just a shade higher.
Man, 1-0 to Keith Hernandez. Keith singled to left field his first time up.
Not that I don't have any compassion for you now.
Give me some money then.
No benefits. Padres nothing, the Expos nothing. Bottom of the 4th inning. I'm still paying on mine.
Student loan, huh? 2-0 to Hernandez. There's a strike, 2-1. Keith entered the game batting .294. 2-0 New York, bottom of 3. Fastball is low, so Hernandez in an ideal hitting position.
That's what their runs in the 2nd inning, breaking that string of no earned runs given up by Giant pitchers through 17 innings.
Keith tried to go to left again, and he fouls it off. So 3-2 to Keith Hernandez. He just asked home plate umpire Bob Engel, that ball up, Bob?
A lot of hitters will do that. They want to make sure of their eye in the strike zone.
Another one fouled away. You rarely get Hernandez out with hard stuff away anywhere near the strike zone with 2 strikes. You may get him out after he makes contact, but you won't strike him out. He really protects away with 2 strikes. Had a good cut on that one. Still 3-2. The breaking ball is a little high. Brindley wanted that pitch, but a little bit high. So Hernandez draws the third walk of the game for the Mets. Well, with Gary Carter coming up, it's only appropriate to start playing Mets trivia. Do you know the last Major League club Met manager Davy Johnson played on? The last Major League club that Davy Johnson, manager of the Mets. Of course, he started out with Baltimore. You mull that one over, and we'll watch Gary Carter take some hacks. Gary flied to right his first time up.
Played with Atlanta. Hit 43 home runs as a second baseman for the Atlanta Braves.
Breaking ball high. That's the last American club, of course. Before he went to Japan, right.
He played with the Tokyo Giants?
Yes. Yes, he did.
And he has the distinction of batting behind the two greatest home run hitters per number.
Gary fouls it back, 1-1.
Hit behind Hank Aaron. And also behind the great Japanese home run hitter, O.H.
Oh?
Oh?
Sadahiro O. Sadahiro had about 855 home runs, or 860, something like that.
I'm going to reveal that to you in just a moment.
All right. 2-1 to Carter. He could hit the fastball now, I guarantee you that. He had 2 home runs off Bob Gibson in two consecutive games against Gibson over in Japan. That third ball game, however, Bob was for real.
Did he go down?
Little chin music, first time up. Ground ball foul, 2-2.
And O had 868 home runs in his major league career. Hank Aaron had 755. Here's that last pitch, a breaking ball. And Carter with that knee going again. That hurts. Boy, it's tough to hit when you're hurt. You're almost afraid to swing.
Yeah, you really are, because you know something might come loose. 2-2 to Gary. Nobody out. Hernandez at first. Breaking ball. That knee buckled again.
Let's take another look. And a breaking ball. And there he goes down again. That's really flinching.
Tough enough to play the game healthy. And it's doubly tough to play his position with that particular problem. Or any problem for that matter, but you're going to have a lot of problems if you play that position. That's the catch-22 of that theory.
So you want to be a catcher, huh?
Yeah. Gary's not having any leverage on those swings, is he?
No, he isn't. It's like Johnny Bench said about catching. He says it's like a bandit riding a horse. You got to keep beating it till it goes. Can't stop.
Now Bob Brindley wants something away. We'll see if it's a fastball or a slider. Looked like he was giving the sign in his closet there, like he didn't want anybody to see it. You do want your pitcher to see it, however.
It also helps if your infielders know what the pitch is. And the outfielders, too.
Look at that. That's the quickest sign I've ever seen. Ball hit well to left. Way back. But it's going to stay in the ballpark. That ball got up in a hurry. Looked like it was out of here, and it just died. And that might be because of that back leg.
I think you'd have to say it was, because you really drive with your legs when you hit. You have to use your legs to push off and get your weight shifted up. And Gary thought he had it, but it didn't carry well. He just didn't get that body drive behind the swing. And there's the swing. Looked like he was a little bit back on his back foot. Didn't quite get the arms extended through when he contacted the ball.
Just like in golf, Ralph, and of course you know better than I, being an 11 handicap golfer, how important the legs are. Well, Darryl Strawberry, the batter, he walked and scored the first run of the game in the second. Also had a stolen base. And it's 1-0. Well, what about that trivia question? Last Major League club that manager Davy Johnson played on.
I'd have to say the Philadelphia Phillies.
That is close. But in 1978, He was traded to the Chicago Cubs for a player to be named later. That's when he finished it. Popped up, Jose Uribe out. He waves off Dan Gladden and makes the catch, 2 away. Davey batted .321 for the Phillies in 1977, led the team in hitting.
He was the first American player to play in Japan and come back to play in Major League Ball after leaving Major League Ball.
And did a representative job for 3 years after coming back. It's kind of a catchy little question, though. You think Phillies, but that last month and a half, he went over to the Cubs.
They got him for the pennant drive.
You know, that was the year that Bruce Sutter blew out in the middle of August. The Cubs had a good year in '78, but finished about 20 games off the pace because Bruce Sutter was really worn out by the beginning of August. Here's George Foster. He grounded to short his first time up. Ooh, breaking ball. That was a breaking ball. The crowd's a little upset, but 1-0 to Foster. You don't want to charge that God anyway, do you?
He's pretty big, and he also does a good job with his feet. That was a slider, got away from him. You don't knock people down with sliders. You use that fastball.
Jim Gott is a practitioner of Hapkido karate, which is a defensive art of karate used primarily with the lower part of the body. The feet, very important, we understand. Do use the hands, too. We were reminded in a letter this evening. Hapkido. Hapkido karate. 2-0. Mets lead it. Both sides with 3 hits. Mets have committed 1 error. Foster fights off a fastball, 1-1. Tim McCarver along with Ralph Kiner and Steve Zabriskie, who will join Ralph after this half inning. I have never really taken a lot of karate lessons or anything, even though I did work out on that strenuous workout plan of the Phillies strength director, Gus Heflin. But I understand that there's a form called Tai Chi, and I think it's a form of karate. And I was told recently, in the last 2 months, that it's very good for your spine and for your back. Keeps your back very rigid, and it's a very healthy form of exercise. 3-1. That still doesn't entice me to do that. I don't know at my age, Ralph. I'll be 44 in October. I don't know if I really want to get into that.
I think you're ready for it.
You think so?
Yeah. Especially after Montreal.
1-game homestand. That is tough. Mets won last night, 1-0. This one popped up and out of play. 3-2 to Foster. So with 2 out and 3-2, Hernandez will be running. Hernandez just telling Foster an interesting thing, pointing to his right shoulder, meaning George's left shoulder. Keep your shoulder in. That's what that means. I think of all the keys given during a game, that's the most prevalent key given. He kept his shoulder in, but the heater was fouled away, so it's still 3-2.
George has a tendency to open up too soon. And that happens to you when you get older because you think you are behind the fastball. You start to open too soon, then you're vulnerable to the curveball.
A lot of young hitters think that that's the way to hit the inside pitch to open up. Wrong. He hit this inside pitch well to left, but it's playable. Dan Gladden makes his 3rd put out of the inning. So a leadoff walk to Hernandez is squandered, but the Mets lead 2-0 after 3. We'll go to the 4th as Steve joins Ralph after this word from Nissan.
Through 3 innings, it's Dwight Gooden's total of 55 pitches, 36 strikes, 19 balls, and 5 strikeouts. 55 pitches to a third of a ball game. That adds up to a lot of pitches. And here to call the balls and strikes for you, the Big Z.
Thanks a lot, Ralph. It'll be Chris Brown, Joel Youngblood, and Bob Brenly for the Giants here in the 4th inning. 2-0. The Doctor and the Mets lead it. And strike one to Brown, who walked his first time up. And strike 2 on a check swing, 0-2. You know, Ralph, if it were not for Vince Coleman and the fact that Chris Brown is playing for the last place Giants, he would be a strong candidate for Rookie of the Year.
He's an outstanding looking ball player.
Fouls it back, and it's still 0-2.
And as we mentioned before, he went to the same high school as Darryl Strawberry. They were friends there. He was a year ahead of Darryl and was a all-city player. Crenshaw High School in Los Angeles on the west side of L.A.
Fastball fouled away down the right field line. Dwight has walked 2, struck out 5, and given up 3 base hits through the first 3 innings. But most importantly, no runs.
And he got out of a tremendous jam in the first inning.
Big curveball strikeout, number 6.
So Dwight comes up with the curveball. This one looks in the strike zone. Might have been just a little low. And he gets his 4th strikeout on a curveball. He has struck out 2 others on fastball.
Joel Youngblood, one of those 6 strikeouts, ending the first inning with the bases loaded. Boy, I'll tell you that. Lord Charles is in residence tonight. Joel having a little discussion with some of the people in the Mets dugout about that one. 0-1. 0-2 on the fastball.
Gooden is ahead of last year's winning pace. Last year at this time he was 13-8, but he had more strikeouts last year, 214.
The curveball punches out Youngblood on 3 pitches. Joel is out of there, and Gooden has struck out 7. Youngblood with some words for home plate umpire Bob Engel. So that looked like a pretty good pitch.
Well, we'll look at it again. It's a tremendous curveball, and I'd say it was in the strike zone. He now has a total of 199. He is 1 strikeout away of joining Herb's score for strikeouts in 2 consecutive seasons from a rookie year. Herb Score, the only man to have struck out 200 his first 2 years in the major leagues.
Bob Brenly takes a fastball right down Broadway, strike 1.
200 each year. Score in 1955 struck out 245. In 1956 he struck out 263. And then he was hit by that line drive that really terminated his career.
Fouled right back. And it's 0-2.
Gil McDougall lined the ball back to the middle, hit Herb Score in the head. And from there on, he altered his pitching motion to get in a better fielding position and never was a dominating pitcher after that.
Now the crowd en masse standing as Gooden has a count of no balls and 2 strikes and is threatening to strike out the side and does.
.200 strikeouts for Dwight Gooden.
And the 27th time in his young career that he has struck out the side in a ball game. He now has 8 tonight. And as you said, Ralph, 200 even on the season. 2-0 New York in the middle of the 4th. And now here's a word from the good old guys. Howard Johnson leads it off for the Mets. Bottom of the 4th. New York leading San Francisco 2-0. And in the top half of this inning, you saw why the Doctor operates in select company. becoming only the second Major League player in history to strike out 200 batters each of his first 2 seasons. What's he going to do for an encore, Ralph?
He's going to go to a higher league.
Johnson walked and scored his first time up, and he takes strike 1 from Jim Gott. Let's go Mets. A little bit low, 1-1. In that second inning, Jim Gott gave up 2 hits and 2 walks. Johnson getting 1 of the walks. Both of the walks scored, driven in by both of the base hits. Two and 1 now. Jim has struck out only 1 and has walked 3. And the Mets have scored their 2 runs on 3 base hits. Fastball grounded foul, and the count 2-2.
Johnson was in that 2-run rally in the second inning when he walked on 4 pitches and later on scored. Mets getting 2 hits in the inning.
Laced foul. Still 2-2. Well, the Mets have gone over the 2 million mark in home attendance tonight. As always, the doctor puts a few extra in the seats, but another great crowd here at Shea. New York averaging over 34,000 a game. Popped up on a play, and the count remains 2-2.
Only the Dodgers in baseball have averaged more per game and have drawn more people. And the Dodgers went in with a tremendous season sale, much, much higher than the Mets.
This one's popped up and playable. Jose Uribe into short left field. 1 away. It's possible, Ralph, for the 2 New York clubs to combine draw the most of any city that has 2 teams, Chicago or Los Angeles. Perennially, the California Angels and the Dodgers have been champions in that department. Their combined attendance usually around 6 million. Rafael Santana singled to center to drive in the first New York run in the second inning, and he hits a breaking ball to third baseman Chris Brown, who throws him out. 2 away. And Dwight Gooden gets a nice hand as he steps up with 2 out and nobody on.
Well, Gooden should turn that 6, or maybe he shouldn't, into a 9, and he had the same number that Bob Feller had, the other great strikeout pitcher.
All right, all the way from Anchorage, Alaska. And Gooden hits the first pitch, skying it to short center field. Chili Davis is there, and a very quick and easy inning for Jim Gott here in the 4th as the Mets go in order. But the doctor and New York still lead San Francisco 2-0 after 4. And we'll return to Shea after this word from Budweiser. Top of the 5th, 2-0 New York, and the Mets. And Dwight Gooden in control at this point. And on behalf of the entire New York Mets organization, we want to send get well wishes to Frank Serrano Sr., father of Frank Serrano, who up until recently worked in the Mets ticket office. Frank Sr. in South Nassau Hospital in Oceanside, Long Island, and we wish him the best. Jose Uribe leads it off for the Giants here in the top of the 5th inning. Uribe tapped back to Gooden his first time up. Jose Uribe Gonzalez. Inside, ball 1.
Interesting story. He changed his last name really because the fact that there are too many Gonzaleses playing baseball and not many Uribes.
Lined off the front of the dugout, 1-1.
Said when they talked about Gonzalez in his native land, they didn't know which one it was. So by going to Uribe, they knew that he was doing the job.
He first changed his name from Jose Gonzalez to Uribe Gonzalez. Thought better of it and used his first two names, Jose Uribe. That's out of play, and it's 1-2.
Jose from the Dominican Republic. Signed as a free agent by the St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, and now with 2 strikes on Uribe, the crowd getting excited again as Dwight Gooden struck out the side in the 4th. Just missed inside, 2-2.
27th time that Gooden has struck out the side, and the 10th time he's done it this year.
Now at 9 Ks on the evening, has struck out the last 4 in a row.
Oh, the White has had that great curveball here tonight. And when it rolls off that table like that, Katie barred the door.
Lord Charles falling off his throne. I'm telling you, he's really in a groove with that breaking ball. Pitcher Jim Gott struck out his first time up. Lays off a low fastball, ball 1. Gott with those 2 home runs in one game that you mentioned earlier, Ralph. And those are his only 2 RBIs of the year. Misses the fastball, 1-1.
Only one pitcher's ever hit 3 home runs in a game, and that was Jim Tobin. Tobin did it for the Boston Braves.
Right down Broadway, 1-2. Gooden has struck out 9 of the last 12 men he has faced. Ks for the Doctor. The 23rd time he has struck out 10 or more in a game, and he has struck out those 10 batters among the last 13 he has faced.
And again, he goes to that curveball. It's out of the strike zone, but the batter doesn't know it when it starts. That is the 8th time he has struck out 10 in the ball game this year.
Dan Gladden, a strikeout victim, his 2nd time up after popping out. And
he had that great year for the Giants last year and had a great spring, and then started the season in low gear and never got out of it.
The curveball is high, 1-1. He leads the Giants in runs scored with 45, and when you consider that the leader in the National League, Dale Murphy, has scored 94, more than twice as many as the leader on the Giants has scored, you can see what a problem it's been for San Francisco pushing runs across the plate. They're not only last in batting average, they're last in on-base percentage as a team.
.296 on-base percentage.
High fastball, an appeal, no, says first base umpire Dave Pallone. So the count now 3-1.
Only the Pittsburgh Pirates have scored less runs than the Giants. National League 1-0 Padres over the Expos in the 6th. Pirates 3, Reds 1 in the top of the 6th. Cubs 1, Braves nothing, top of the 6th. Phillies 3 and the Dodgers 2, top of the 5th. Cardinals underway, trailing the Astros 1-0, top of the 2nd.
High fastball, ball 4. That breaks the string. That retired 6 in a row and 5 strikeouts in a row, and it's the 3rd walk Gooden has issued that comes here with 2 out in the 5th, and Brad Wellman will be the hitter. Wellman had a base hit in the 1st and struck out in the 3rd. Only 2 Giants have not struck out so far. Chili Davis, who's 2 for 2, and Dan Dreesen, who's walked and grounded into an inning-ending force play. Dan Gladden checking things out with Tom McCraw, the first base coach. 2-0, New York leading, 2 out, top of the 5th inning, and Gladden, who walked at first base. And he's off of the first pitch, and it's fouled back, strike one.
Well, Jim Davenport still trying to push this ball game. When you play against Gooden, you have to do something different and go all out. Take advantage of the few chances you get.
They haven't had many base runners. This is the 5th they have had. They've left the 4 previous base runners on. So a hit and run on the very first pitch. We'll see what happens here. Gladden with 25 stolen bases leads the Giants in that department. And he's running again. And again the pitch fouled back. So it's 0-2.
Gladden's had 25 stolen bases out of 35 attempts. Keep having something to say to Gooden. With a 2-strike count, not too likely he'll be running.
And Keith might be reinforcing that by saying, just go ahead and concentrate on the hitter.
Get the hitter.
0-2, 2 out. A pitch out. Gladden was not running. And it's 1-2.
There are many power pitchers that you will pitch out because they usually don't have that good control. But Gooden is a man who has outstanding control for a hard thrower. Now he went to his mouth evidently, and it's going to be a ball call.
Well, if Dwight went to his mouth, it was to remove some perspiration. But apparently the count will now become 2-2.
1-2, I think it is, Steve, because that ball was fouled off. So it won't make that much difference. Dave Pallone making the call that Gooden went to his mouth, and it's an automatic ball.
Well, then the pitch out doesn't count. And he chases Gladden back again.
Can't put that down the book as a pitch out, huh? That's right.
I guess not. That negates the pitch out if they're going to make it an automatic ball. If he went to his mouth after the fact, the count would have to be 2-2.
Yeah.
Now it's 2-2.
You might see him running here. But if he throws it in the strike zone, it's academic.
2-2 to Brad Wellman, 2 out with Gladden at first base. The Mets are leading 2-0. Gladden running, and the pitch is popped up and playable. If it stays in, it's near the dugout. So is Hernandez, but it's back in the first row. So once again, we'll do it again. Gladden again back to first.
Gladden's a hard-nosed ball player, a lot like Wally Backman and Len Dykstra.
A scrapper. Gladden running again, and it's strike 3. Dwight Gooden strikes out the side for the second consecutive inning. He has struck out 11 through the first 5 innings of play. New York 2, San Francisco nothing. Here's a word from the good old Skies. Tomorrow night, it's boxing at its best with Night of Champions, featuring, no, not her, but the WBC super lightweight bout between Lonnie Smith and Bill Costello. Don't miss the action Wednesday night at 8, followed by News 9 Special Edition at 10, right here on Channel 9. Well, coming in for the play-by-play as we go to the bottom of the fifth, a guy who never hit another person, never would, but hit a lot of baseballs, Ralph Kiner.
Okay, Steve Zabriskie, and it'll be Len Dykstra, the leadoff for the Mets. Mets leading 2-0, both sides with only 3 hits. Dykstra contributing to one of the runs for the New York Mets when he singled to right field to drive in Howard Johnson back in the second. Mets got their first run when Santana singled to center to score Darryl Strawberry, who had walked and stolen second. So Dykstra batting for the 3rd time. 1 for 2 in the game against Jim Cott. Got with a record of 4-8. And in 4 of his losses, the Giants were shut out. And the fastball, strike 1.
Lenny has hit .333 over the last 11 games, and as you can see right there, he's been on base 20 times in the last 12 games, including 12 hits.
One ball, 1 strike.
I think he's got somebody else's hat on.
Mets starting their action a half game up on the St. Louis Cardinals. Good strike call. Cardinals trailing Houston 1-0 after 1.5 innings in the Astrodome. Kepshire and Scott, the opposing pitchers in that Houston Cardinal ball game. And it's grounded to the second baseman, Wellman. And Dykstra and out. That'll bring up Wally Backman.
Here's the American League scoreboard. No score. Texas, Boston, that's in the 6th inning. In the 5th, Toronto and Cleveland tied 2-2. In the 2nd, no score. Kansas City, Chicago. In the 3rd, no score. Minnesota, Milwaukee. And later, the Yankees are in California, Detroit at Oakland, and Baltimore at Seattle.
Backman in this game is 0 for 2. Has grounded out twice. 4th in the National League batting race. And he goes after the curveball. Backman hitting .305 at the start of the ball game. Backman hitting .372 in his last 39 ball games, and he has scored 38 runs. Batting .245 back on July 1st. 1-1 the count. Curveball, 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, he's hitting 17 of his last 18 games.
And the fastball, 3 balls, 1 strike. God at Toronto last year had a record of 7-6. Lifetime against the Mets, he has no wins and 1 loss. And a line drive, base hit into left center field. Flagged down out there by Chili Davis. Backman going anyway, and he goes in with a double.
Well, where you get an extra base hit quite often is the first 20 or 30 feet out of the box. And Wally Backman running hard all the way makes it in easily because Chili Davis slipped down. And Davis, in fact, made a very good play just to get to that ball and cut it off. Had he not, Wally would have been to third easily and had an outside shot. Of course, if the ball rolls around funny out there, going all the way.
So a runner at second with 1 out. And Keith Hernandez the batter. Keith has singled and walked. Keith has had 40 runs batted in his last 42 ball games, and a chance to up that. Mets leading 2-0, one man out, bottom of the 5th inning. And the curveball, a strike call.
In the last 43 games, Keith has hit 400 with men in scoring position. 360 overall.
And the fastball fouled into the stand, strike 2. Got in 4 1/3 innings, charged with 2 runs, both earned, allowed 4 hits, struck out 1, walked 3. And the walks hurt him. They came in the 2nd inning. 2 of the walks. And now they count 1 ball and 2 strikes. On deck batter, Gary Carter.
3rd inning now. Houston has scored again. They lead St. Louis 3-0. Cardinals batting top of the 3rd.
And it's fouled back out of play. The count stays at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Oh, hi there.
Look at those eyes. He's going to be a heartbreaker.
1-2. And it's hit foul again. So the count remains at 1 ball and 2 strikes.
You and Tim were talking earlier about how well Keith Hernandez protects away. He has the ability, as have a lot of good hitters, to take those pitches that are tough to handle and foul them off out of play where they can't hurt him. And hang tough until he can get something he can handle, hopefully.
And that comes from that good swing that he has. And it's hit off the hands to the shortstop, Uribe, and he pulls it in. Backman back to second. So 2 away, and the batter will be Gary Carter. Mets fans, you can have it all with Michelob Light. Super premium taste and a less filling beer. Carter 0 for 2. Flight out to right field his first time up, and deep left field his second. Carter obviously bothered by that bad knee.
And in some ways, Ralph, it affects him more at the plate than it does behind it.
I think it does. One after the curveball.
In fact, the first time this year that he seriously injured it, although it's bothered him for some time, was on a swing in the Astrodome in Houston.
Carter facing a knee operation, and the Mets hope, and Gary hopes, it's after the World Series. And a drive to left, the base hit. Backman comes in to score easily. Carter with an RBI. The Mets lead 3-0.
Wally Backman scores his 39th run in his last 40 ball games, and Carter now has driven in 62 on the year. Gary's doing it all with the upper body, too, because, as you said earlier, Ralph, it's tough to get those legs involved and generate a lot of power. But he is just so strong that he is able to hit line drive ropes, basically using just his arms.
So the Mets leading 3-0, and the batter is Darryl Strawberry. Darryl has walked and scored. He also has flied out to left. Mets picking up the run with 2 men out. Ground ball to the shortstop, Uribe, who takes it to the bag for the force play that retires the side. But the Mets get 1 on 2 hits, and they leave 1. And the score at the end of 5, it's the Mets 3 and the Giants nothing. Now here's a word from Michelob Light. Well, the White Gooden getting set here for the top of the 6th. The Mets leading by a score of 3-0. And here's the total. 86 pitches, 58 strikes, 28 balls, 11 strikeouts. Fourth inning, 11 pitches, 11 strikes.
And in the second, he threw only 8 pitches, one of them balls. If it wasn't for the first inning when he threw 28 pitches, he'd be well under average, considering the fact that he has 11 strikeouts. When you strike out a lot of people, you throw more pitches.
He has struck out the side twice, marking the 28th time he has done it, and the 11th time he's done it this year. And he has had 10 or more strikeouts for the 23rd time, the 8th time this year, and his first pitch, ball 1, as he works to Chili Davis.
As you see, Davis hits the Mets very well, and he is one of only 2 that Dwight has not struck out in the Giant lineup tonight. He's 2 for 2.
And the fastball. 1-1.
Chili's been on base now in 28 of the last 32 ball games. And when he was thrown out attempting to steal in the first inning, that broke a string of 9 stolen bases in a row.
And the fastball fouled away.
I guess you'd have to say, Ralph, that Chili Davis and Chris Brown have been about the only 2 offensive bright spots for San Francisco.
Brenly, a disappointment, had a great year last year. And Gladden, a big disappointment, hit over 350 last year as you look at Davey Johnson, Mel Stoudemire, and Bill Robinson. One and 2 to count to Chili Davis, and Gooden has really delighted this crowd. And that curveball, not one of his best. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Gooden, in his last 30 decisions dating back to last year, has a record of 26-4.
That would be some season, wouldn't it?
Wow. And the curveball, another base hit for Chili Davis. So Chili 3 for 3 tonight.
I can hear Chili now going back to the dugout. What's the matter with you guys? This is easy.
Well, they got the curveball.
That's a good curveball, too.
Stayed right on it. Picked up the base hit. Now the lead batter is on with the Mets leading by a score of 3-0. Top of the 6th inning. Dan Dreesen, the batter. Dan has walked and grounded into a force play. That's not too impressive since coming over to the Giants. Overall, he's hitting .246 for the year. And there's a good curve.
Danny probably felt like he'd been banished to the hinterlands here after going from a contending team in Montreal to the Giants, who have been out of it for a long time.
Go over to first base. Dreesen, of course, started his career with the Cincinnati Reds and played with that big red machine over there when they were a menacing team. Not bad this year, as a matter of fact. Reds in second place, trailing by 8. Tied with San Diego. And the fastball, strike 2.
Boy, it's a great location to a left-handed hitter. A fastball on the outside part of the plate. And whereas a guy like Keith Hernandez handles that pitch quite well, most left-handed hitters do not.
I always thought a low outside fastball with a 2-strike count was a tough pitch. Got him with a fastball. Strikeout number 12.
Well, now only Chili Davis in the San Francisco lineup has not been struck out by Gooden, and it was against the Giants, remember, that he set his high for this year at 14. That was at San Francisco. Now he has an even dozen.
And his next batter will be Chris Brown. Brown has walked and struck out.
I wonder if those guys brought enough Ks tonight. So far, they have.
Well, the all-time record for strikeouts in a 9-inning ball game is 19. There are enough outs left. outs are left for Dwight Gooden, but 19 an awful high total.
He'd have to strike out 7 of the last 11 to tie that. 8 of 11, obviously, to set a new mark.
And the fastball. Curveball, fastball, strike 2. Tom Seaver struck out 19 in the 9-inning ball game. That was against San Diego. Steve Carlton struck out 19 in the game that he lost to the New York Mets. And it's the Astros 4 and the Cardinals nothing, bottom of the 3rd. Curveball in the air to center. Len Dykstra is there. And he puts it away. Davis back to first base. And Nolan Ryan has struck out 19 batters in the 9-inning ball game. That'll bring up Joel Youngblood, who has struck out twice. Youngblood struck out on 3 pitches his last time out. Called out on strikes. He is the only batter that Dwight has struck out on a called 3rd strike. And Youngblood argued on the call. Curveball, strike 1.
I'll tell you, there ought to be a law here. This has got to be tough on a right-handed hitter. This ball starts off at your shoulder, winds up at your knees, and in the strike zone.
Greg Louganis doesn't dive like that.
Yeah, we're going to have to start giving the Greg Louganis curveball, giving points on those.
And it's a little looper in the center field, a base hit. So Youngblood gets a little measure of revenge as he picks up a base hit after striking out twice. And runners now at first and second with 2 men out. And Bob Brenly the batter.
Now this is the fastball, and Joel Youngblood is on it. Enough at least to get it into center field. And now 5 hits. Make that 6 hits for the Giants off Dwight Gooden.
Brenly has struck out twice. He was the 200th strikeout victim. That was back in the 6th inning when Dwight struck out the side, getting his 6th, 7th, and 8th strikeouts. Putting him in a tie with Herb Score as the only people to strike out 200 or more batters in their first 2 seasons in the major leagues. And it is ball 1.
I said 6 hits, Ralph. It actually is 5.
Both sides with 5 base hits. The Mets leading though 3-0. Fastball, faking the throw to first base. Hernandez coming over to cover. I don't know whether Carter didn't want to throw it or couldn't get a good grip on it.
Might have been because he didn't feel Keith was close enough to the bag. Keith plays as far towards second as any first baseman does, and with a runner at second as well as first, he's able to really play back and over with 2 out.
Brenly is tied for the club lead in home runs with Jeff Leonard. Total of 16, and he has hit the Mets extremely well. At least prior to this season. Fastball hit in the air to center field. Dykstra has room, and he makes the catch. So the Giants threaten but do not score. No runs on 2 hits. They left 2, and the score at the end of 5.5 innings. The Mets 3 and the Giants nothing. Now here's a word from Burger King.
A down-and-out basketball team is saved by astrology. That's right. Stockard Channing, Jonathan Winters, and Dr. J star in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. And someone needs to. An off-the-wall comedy Thursday night at 9 on the $1 Million Movie.
Pittsburgh Pirates in dire trouble. They cannot draw too many people. And the club for sale, no takers.
And that's for all you moms out there, because it doesn't say which mom, right?
All right, we're going now to the bottom of the 6th. The Mets leading 3-0, and George Foster the lead off for the Mets. The Mets got 2 runs in the second, a walk to Strawberry after Foster grounded into an out. Strawberry on second base as a result of a stolen base was accompanied on the bases by Johnson, who walked on 4 pitches. And then a single by Santana and a single by Dykstra.
Well, finally a run scored at Montreal. Padres lead it over the Expos 1-0 now, bottom of the 7th.
And in the bottom of the 5th, the Mets got their 3rd run on a double by Beckman and a single by Gary Carter.
Now the Astros still in the bottom of the 3rd, lead the Cardinals 8-0.
And Foster fouls off a fastball. George 0 for 2 in this game. Shortstop Uribe made a good play on him to throw him out in the 2nd inning.
And a good play at the other end by Dan Dreesen as Uribe's throw short hop, Danny, but he dug it out.
1 strike to count as Jim Gott works, and this ball hit out to left center field. Foster hitting the ball in the end of the bat, and almost an Alphonse Gaston act out there by Gladden and Davis.
Well, this was I got it, you take it. George hits a tweener, and it's plenty high enough for somebody to get there. And you see Gladden's obviously calling, and Davis almost runs into him. George hit it off the end of the bat, or he might have had a shot at getting it out of here. See Gladden check Davis, and Davis is also calling. They're both calling. And finally, fortunately for the Giants, Gladden took it.
Hello there. And it's Howard Johnson. Ball 1 with a fastball. Howard with a walk, and also he popped up Mike Jeffcoat and Greg Minton throwing in the bullpen for the Giants, as Gott will be scheduled to bat when the Giants come up in the 7th inning. And it's fouled away. The applause here is for that score. Houston 8, St. Louis nothing.
Obviously, if the Cardinals lose to Houston and the Mets hold on and win this ball game, New York will extend their lead in the National League East to 1 1/2 games over the Cardinals.
1-1, the count to Howard Johnson. And Jim Gott throws a fastball. It's popped up into foul territory, out of reach and out of play. Johnson hitting .222 against the Giants with 2 hits in 9 at-bats prior to this ball game. He's now 2 for 10, so that's an even .200 against the Giants. Mets with this ball game have 16 of their next 20 ball games at Shea Stadium. Ground ball to Wellman, the second baseman, 2 men away. That'll bring up Rafael Santana, who has the game-winning RBI in this ball game with a single in the 2nd to score the Mets' first run. Mets in games where they have scored first with a record of 51-11. Mets have the best home record in the National League, 40 wins and 19 losses.
And now Houston has scored another run, still in the bottom of the 3rd. 9-0 they lead St. Louis.
Think Al Rosen can relax now? General manager of the Houston Ball Club?
I doubt if he will.
Oh, you talk about a guy that was a competitor. Good pitch by Gott. Got him inside.
Over in the American League, Jim Gott used to pitch to Tim Tuffle of the Minnesota Twins. And Jim's name in German means God, and Tim Tuffle's last name in German means devil. And Tuffle had a great quote. He said, "I always had a devil of a time against Gott."
Where does George Burns come in? He played
that's right.
both sides of the street, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
2-1 the count as Rafael Santana bats with 2 men out. The bottom of the 6th inning, the Mets leading 3-0. Ground ball off of Chris Brown, the third baseman, and it goes into the stands. It's a grounds rule double, and Brown appears to be hurt.
Looked like it hit him right on the kneecap. Santana with a sharp ground ball. call it the hot corner for nothing, huh? Let's take another look at it. Pitch is down, and Raphael hits a skimming one-hopper. Chris Brown puts that knee on the ground, and oh, man, right on the point of the knee. The crowd is reacting here at Shea because they showed exactly the same shot you just saw on Diamond Vision. There it is coming at you, and it ricocheted off of his knee and went into the St. Louis dugout. So you can tell with what force that ball hit right on the point of Chris Brown's knee. Santana laces it, and Brown, who was playing just about even with the bag, got his body in front of it, but oh man, the bony parts of that body are not meant to take baseballs. It looks like he's going to stay in.
Still trying to walk off the pain. He says he's all right. That'll get stiff tonight. See how they scored. They scored a base hit.
Never hurts as much at the time as it does the next day when you try to get out of bed. You think it hurts now, Chris? Wait till tomorrow morning, partner.
Well, it is scored a base hit. The Mets get their 6th hit of the ball game, and it brings up Dwight Gooden, who is 0 for 2. Gooden with 13 base hits on the year. Chance to help his own cause as the Mets lead by a score of 3-0. 2 men out, bottom of the 6th inning. And the fastball fouled into the stands.
Chris Brown down at third is obviously still hurting and limping around rather badly. I don't know if it wouldn't be a bad idea to try to drop one down that third baseline route the way Gooden runs.
That'd be taking unfair advantage.
I mean, you might give up the chance at the RBI, but get on base.
Well, when baseball is being played, it doesn't count. Friendship, nothing like that counts. Monty Stratton was a man with a wooden leg who tried to pitch with a wooden leg for the Chicago White Sox, and they bunted him right out of baseball.
Merciless, those players.
And a hard ground ball to short. Uribe bobbles it. He'll have to hurry. And he gets his man. So that retires a side. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left at second, and the score at the end of 6. The Mets 3 and the San Francisco Giants nothing. Now here's a word from the Bell Atlantic Yellow Pages.
Hugh Hefner joins the original Not Ready for Primetime players for the best of Saturday Night Live. That's tonight at 12:30 right here on Channel 9. Well, with a total of 38,500 looking on, we go to the 7th inning with the Mets leading 3-0, and back into work the final 3 with me. Here's Tim McCarver.
All right, Steve. 5-hitter by Dwight Gooden. He has struck out 12 and walked 3 through 7. So he is within range, but it would be a phenomenal achievement if he does tie Tom Seaver and Steve Carlton for the most strikeouts. Also Nolan Ryan in the American League, but Tom and Steve have done it in the National League. Here's Jose Uribe. He has struck out and grounded back to Gooden on a nice play. Everybody in the lineup has struck out at least once, but Chili Davis, who is 3 for 3. Fastball on the corner, 0-1. $3-0 New York. Houston over the Cardinals, 9-0. So shutouts in opposite directions. Good curveball, Mercy, 0-2.
I'll tell you, we got to hang a sign out that says the doctor is in. There you see Joe Fitzgerald running the radar gun for the Mets. But who cares on that breaking ball?
13th strikeout for Dwight Gooden. 1 out here in the 7th.
A baker's dozen for the doctor. And he has gone over the 200 mark in a big way tonight. Boy, I'll tell you, that ball had to drop well over 3 feet. Crowd here tonight, 38,578 total, a paid crowd of 31,758.
And the pinch hitter is Ron Renicky. And Ron swings and misses.
Renicky hitting .233 on the year. No homers and 3 RBIs. He's 3 for 15 as a pinch hitter.
Number 1 draft choice of the Los Angeles Dodgers back in 1976, Ron Renicky. And he fouls one back, so it's 0-2 to Renicky. It's tough when you face Gooden 3 or 4 times a night, but when you have to pinch hit against him, it's a tough enough art as it is. 2 curveballs to Renicky. We'll see how Gooden works him. 13 strikeouts. The high in the major leagues this year, 14. De Leon, Valenzuela, and Dwight Gooden. 1-2. It's almost as though the crowd gets mad when somebody puts a ball in play, even though it's an out.
They don't want to see fly balls. They don't want to see ground balls. They might even be upset at a double play. They just want to see more Ks from the doctor.
2-2.
The thing that I think has been amazing about Dwight this year is his ability to make the most of what he has on any particular night. When he doesn't have the good curveball, he still manages to win. And when he does, you don't see as many fastballs from him.
2-2. I think that's an excellent point, Steve. He is, in a short period of time, you're not amazed by anything he does, but he seems to have the presence of mind to spot his fastball a lot more when he doesn't appear to be throwing as hard. And that's the difference between guys who win 20 ball games and those who win 16 or 17.
And the difference between a thrower and a real pitcher.
He has been more of a pitcher this year. Breaking ball got him. Strikeout number 14 for Dwight Gooden.
That ties his high for the year, and they have both been against the San Francisco Giants. And Dwight Gooden, just one reason why the New York Mets have gone over the 2 million mark in attendance tonight. The crowd tonight, the paid total, bringing the total to 2,013,250. And here is number 14, again, the big curveball breaking down out of the strike zone.
Also here, Dan Gladden, and he takes a strike. Gooden's high and his career high, in his short career, he struck out 16 in consecutive games last year. 0-2. It's like he's throwing better this inning than at any other inning in the ball game.
And throughout his young career, he has really shown that he does get stronger as the game goes along on most occasions.
Check swing. Hernandez will make the play. And the crowd is booing. No runs, no hits, no errors, and none left after 6.5. It's 3-0 New York. We'll be back after this word from Royal Crown Cola.
Well, if you're one of the many, and we certainly are 2 of those who are planning on taking some time off this fall, why not take a 7-day cruise with some of your favorite Mets aboard the Cunard Countess, a ship of British registry? I say. Mets like Gary Carter, George Foster, and Jesse Orozco are scheduled to be on board the cruise November 9th through the 16th, which will take you from San Juan to 6 Caribbean islands. All right. Prices for this 7-day trip begin at just $1,179, and that includes airfare to San Juan on Eastern Airlines. It's per person on a double occupancy basis. So for information on the 1985 Meet the Mets cruise, call Hartford Holidays at 718-895-7062 or Long Island 516-466-0335. And we'll see you in November on the Meet the Mets cruise.
All right. Maybe while you're on that cruise, you can pick up the revised edition of the Mets 1985 yearbook. It can be purchased through the mail by sending a check or money order for $5, payable to the Mets. Promotion Graphics, Department M, as in money, 160 Varick Street, New York, New York, 10013. The yearbook is 112 pages of full-color photographs of your favorite Mets and includes a special 16-page feature, the history of New York National League Championship teams. Get your 1985 Mets yearbook today by sending a check or money order for $5 payable to the Mets. That's Promotion Graphics, Department M, 160 Barrack Street, New York, New York. And we got a new pitcher in the ball game, son of former Major Leaguer Hal Jeffcoat. And it's a lefty, Mike Jeffcoat.
Mike's 0-1, a 1.80 ERA, his 14th appearance. He has no saves. And as you can see, in 15 innings of work, he has walked only 4, struck out 8, and given up 14 hits. Only 1 home run among them.
And the batter, Len Dykstra. The Mets on top, 3-0. Dwight Gooden has struck out 14 in 7 innings. 0-1 to Len Dykstra. The herky-jerky motion of Mike Jeffcoat. 0-2 to Dykstra. Mike, 25 years old. Slider outside. He's from Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Jeffcoat's only allowed 2 earned runs in his last 10 ball games. His ERA over that period of time, 1.50.
Giants have a good bullpen. Slider outside, 2-2.
Scott Gerald's having a good year.
Mark Davis.
Mark Davis.
Leading the major leagues in strikeouts with 98.
He is 4th among all major league relievers in that category.
And Dykstra fouls it away.
I take that back. He's 1st this year.
Giants bullpen has yielded only 4 hits in their last 12 innings of work and no runs. So they've done a good job. Ground ball to short. Uribe guns him out. 1 away in the batter Wally Backman.
Well, now it's 11-0. The Cardinals are just getting pounded by Houston in the Dome. That's in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Second baseman, Wally Backman.
That was the road trip, the Hinterland road trip, where the Mets were 10-1. And that really started off the spark that has led to the hot pace that they've kept over the last 6 weeks. Backman batting right-handed, of course, against the left-handed Jeffcoat, and he fouls it away. Wally batting 176 from the right side, 328 as a left-hander. Big, big difference. Good fastball. A lot of motion from Jeffcoat. Herky-jerky. Here comes the ball. 0-2 to Backman. Breaking ball hit well to left field. But Dan Gladden is there at the edge of the warning track. Wally Backman gave it a ride, but Dan Gladden makes the catch. And the batter, Keith Hernandez. Keith 1 for 2. He has walked and singled. Jim Gott, the starting pitcher, Steve, did a heck of a job tonight. 3 runs and 6 hits over 6 innings. But he has been bested by Gooden.
He's not the only one.
That's right.
Nor will he be the last.
Hernandez bails and wails. 0-1.
It has to be tough on the San Francisco pitching staff. There's the doctor, who's having an outstanding evening. Granted, they're facing a great pitcher tonight, but they have just not been scoring for their pitchers.
I think that picture told a lot. Gooden rarely gets excited. He keeps that gap to a minimum. Not a lot of highs, not a lot of lows. He's usually about the same.
I've really only seen him show his emotion in a demonstrative way on a couple of occasions.
Good breaking ball, 1-2 to Hernandez. First time we've seen Mike Jeffcoat. He looks quite effective. He was 5-2 with Cleveland last year, an excellent ERA of 2.99 in 63 appearances. Breaking ball high, 2-2. Line drive, base hit up the middle. Second base hit of the night for Hernandez, and he's on with 2 out and the batter, Gary Carter.
Well, it didn't take long for Keith to get a bead on Jeffcoat. He looked bad earlier, but he was going to school, and he just passed the exam.
Just like a guy who has to putt second, right?
That's right. Go to school on the first putt.
Carter with an RBI single in the 5th. He's flied out twice. Gary 1 for 3 on the night. Quite a battle up in Montreal. 1-0 San Diego over the Expos. And for the final scores in all games, or the updates certainly, tune in to Korner's Corner immediately following the game, as always, and Ralph will have the completed games and the partial scores. Not along the George Carlin line.
That's right.
1 and 3.
Partial score from the American League, Baltimore 3.
Yeah. To Gary Carter. 2 out, Hernandez at first.
Let me run those scores down for you. 2-1, 5-4, 8-3.
Right.
Now you're up to date.
Hernandez at first base. Keith with a couple of stolen bases. No threat to run. 0-2. Jeffcoat doing a good job of staying ahead. 3-0. Mets lead it. They have 7 hits and the Giants with 5. Oh, foul tip off the shoulder of Bob Brenly.
Bob wishes he were back out at first base. Looks like it caught him on the mask first. Shall we say the jaw?
Everybody thinks that when you're hit in the mask, that because of the mask as a protective device, that it doesn't hurt. Well, you can be hurt with that twisting action of those pitches. Takes that mask and grinds it in about 2 inches into your face. Great feeling. Marvelous.
With those ingrown beard hairs, too.
Ground ball to third baseman Chris Brown. He goes to first base for the out. No runs to hit, and 1 left here in the 7th inning. We go to the 8th. Dwight Gooden working on a shutout with 14 strikeouts. He has the lead, 3-0. Now here's a word from Garcia Vega.
John Biner, as always, will liven things up in the comedy hit Bazaar tonight at 11, right here on Channel 9.
And Dwight Gooden has done it in a non-bizarre fashion here tonight. Striking out 14 and allowing 5 hits. You better believe it.
The doctor is in.
Brad Wellman leads it off here in the 8th inning. Brad has struck out twice and flared a little single to right field back in the 1st inning. Chili Davis followed with a base hit. That's the only real threat mounted by the Giants tonight. Strike on the corner. Matter of fact, the only other time they had a runner to second base was in the 6th with 2 out. Joel Youngblood singled Chili Davis to second. 1-1. 3-0, New York.
Used to be only 3 or 4 guys up there in the K corner. As you can see, it's become a more popular spot here.
Swing and a miss. 1-2 to Wellman.
The ironic thing about the K corner is it's probably one of the worst places in the ballpark to see a strikeout. High down the left field line.
You don't need to see them. You can hear them.
That's right.
Breaking ball lifted to left. Foster over. Ball could be trouble. Nice play, George Foster. Foster had a long way to run for that foul ball, but he made a nice play, and with 1 out, the batter, Chili Davis.
Well, the Mets not expecting Wellman to be able to pull off Dwight Gooden, but Wellman hit a pitch that was up and out of the strike zone, and a breaking ball on top of that. It was inside. So George had to go all the way from deep left center field into foul territory, and he got there.
Charles Chili Davis, 3 for 3. He has singled 3 times and has 3/5 of the Giants' hit total tonight. Good cut, fouls it back.
And Chili is the only guy in the San Francisco lineup Dwight has not struck out. He even struck out the pinch hitter Ron Renicky.
So he has struck out 9 of the 10 potential threats at least once. And he has struck out at least 1 in every inning. Check swing. 0-2 to Davis.
Well, that was a nasty fastball right there. In on the hands, up about letter high.
White night it is. Fastball just off the plate. 1-2 to Davis. Gooden has struck out 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third. He struck out the side in the 4th and 5th. He struck out 1 in the 6th and 2 in the 7th for 14. 2-2.
Carter almost flipped that ball down to third. As it was that close. Shades of some years gone by when there was a black cat on the field here, and this one is gray with white trim.
That was back in the Cubs series back in 1969. So with the gray cat out there, I suppose your luck will continue to be mediocre. There we go. Two and 2 to Chili Davis. 1 out, 3-0 New York. 3-2. Fouls it away. Chili Davis, born in Jamaica, grew up in Los Angeles and was a catcher in high school. He ran too well to be a catcher.
What a waste of speed that was. Maybe he didn't get fast till he got.
I didn't mean to lead you into anything detrimental.
You left yourself wide open.
Boy, oh boy, I thought about it after I said it. Sorry.
You of all people.
That was another E2.
All right. Pete Rose still 15 behind Ty Cobb.
Pittsburgh won that game 3-2 over the fledgling Cincinnati Reds. 3-2 to Chili Davis. 1 out. We're in the 8th. Ground ball sharply to Backman at second, and he throws him out. 2 away.
And now the first baseman, Dan Drusen.
So Chili Davis has the bead on the doctor. He's 3 for 4 on the night. Should have imparted some of that information to the rest of the lineup, however. Dan Drusen 0 for 2 with a walk. Gooden has walked 3 and struck out 14. Bob Engel almost went for the head fake on that one. 1-0. Curve ball and a beauty. 1-1.
Oh, man.
That piercing concentration of Dwight Gooden. Curve ball by Hernandez. Into right field. Strawberry hurries. And Drusen's going to stay there. So Dan Drusen hits a bullet past Hernandez for the 6th hit of the ball game.
This ball looked like it took a bad hop, or Keith might have come up with it. Right before it got to Hernandez, it sort of changed trajectory a little bit. Keith, I think, thought he had a beat on that ball. But it went over his glove, and it's the 6th hit off Gooden for San Francisco tonight.
And the batter is Chris Brown. Chris is 0 for 2. He has walked, struck out, and flied to center. Time again, Gooden has thrown that first pitch for a strike tonight. And as we've said so many times, it's a game of first. Get the first strike, the first out, and the first run. And the Mets have done that by and large here tonight.
Now in the 9th inning in Montreal, with San Diego still leading 1-0. If the Padres hold on and the Mets hold on and the Astros hold on, the Mets will increase their lead over both clubs.
Chris Brown fouls it away. Well, the Astros now lead 11-0 in the bottom of the 5th. Mike Scott, the ex-Met, going against Kurt Kepshire, and he was knocked out of the box with the score 11-0 in the 3rd inning. And the last time out, he retired 19 in a row against the Expos.
See the penthouse or outhouse?
Yeah. Line drive right center, and there's Dykstra to cut it off. Drusen to third, and Dykstra alertly throws the ball to second base. So the Giants, for the 2nd time in this game, have runners at the corners.
Giants.
Both base hits coming here with 2 out in the inning. And Chris Brown with a pretty good piece of hitting right there. Dykstra making the proper play to keep Chris Brown at first base.
And the batter, Joel Youngblood. And everybody knows Youngblood has some pop. 3 home runs is high for home runs. He had 16 2 years ago for the Giants. Jammed him with a fastball. Hernandez, Carter for the 3rd out. The Giants threaten here in the 8th, but to no avail. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 left. And after 7.5, it's all Gooden in the Mets, 3-0. We'll be back after this word from Nissan.
Go to the bottom of the 8th inning with the Mets leading 3-0. Greg Minton is going to come in to pitch. No, and that is not he. Face looks familiar, though.
You're hanging around with the wrong crowd.
Maybe I've seen it in the mirror. Curly shuffle time, and they're all dancing in the aisles here at Shea. How to Play Better Baseball by Bud Harrelson. That's a different face. Minton 2-3 on the year with 4 saves and a 3.19 ERA, his 47th appearance.
Your attention.
Greg's worked 67 and 2/3 innings, walked 32, struck out 29, given up 64 hits and 3 home runs. He is the 3rd San Francisco pitcher of the evening, and he will be facing Darryl Strawberry, George Foster, and Howard Johnson here in the 8th inning, with New York leading at 3-0 behind a 14 strikeout performance by the Doctor. Tonight, Strawberry has walked and scored, popped out, and grounded out. And he takes high and away, ball 1. Darryl stole a base back in the 2nd inning.
Blue Jays over the Indians 3-2 in the 8th inning. The Blue Jays entering the game 4 games in front of the Yankees in the American League East.
2 balls, no strikes to Darryl. Jim got started for the Giants, pitched the first 6 and gave up all 3 runs, all earned. Jeffcoat pitched 1 inning in the 7th, and Minton now here in the 8th. And it's 3-0.
Kind of brings up a point when you think of both Eastern divisions. Would you rather be in Toronto's shoes 4 ahead of the Yankees with the way the Yankees have been playing, or in the Mets' shoes a half a game in front of the Cardinals with the way the Mets have been playing?
Well, that's an interesting point. A smaller lead, but a different aspect as far as momentum is concerned. Lately, Toronto's been going the opposite direction. They had a lead twice that size not too long ago. Over the mound, up the middle, base hit into center field for Strawberry.
Well, a 38 hopper. You don't see Darryl get too many of these hits, these types of hits, the 38 hoppers up the middle. But he is strong enough to really put a lot of topspin on that sinking fastball, as he did just then.
8th hit for the Mets, and it brings up George Foster, who is 0 for 3. George grounded to short, lined to left, and flied to left. Strawberry running on the first pitch, and he's out of there. Good throw by Bob Brenly.
Boy, it really was, and a good quick tag by Uribe. Uribe lost his footing down there. Brenly getting rid of it in a hurry. Well, Strawberry may have had that right foot in there, but usually if the ball beats you, this is the disadvantage of taking that ball up in front of the bag. See him catch it and then bring it back. Had he been on the bag, there's no contest. Watch him bring the glove back with the ball in it.
And you can see by how high off the ground he caught the ball that it would have been to the bag easily with a lot on it. It wasn't as if the ball was dying in front of the bag and he had to prevent the short hop.
Or tailing back into the runner.
Right.
You can understand it if there's a tail on the ball.
Breaking ball popped up into short center field. Second baseman Brad Wellman will handle it, and 2 away.
Third baseman, Howard Johnson.
And here's Howard Johnson. Hojo walked and scored back in the 2nd inning. Other than that, he's 0 for 2. He popped to short and grounded to second. 3 runs on 8 hits and 1 error for New York. No runs, 7 hits, and no errors for the Giants. There's the line score. 2 out, nobody on. Bottom of the 8th inning. Just outside, ball 1. It's now 12-2. Houston leading St. Louis. Of course, Ralph will have all the finals, hopefully, on Korner's corner. That's out of play, and it's 1-1. Two and 1. The Mets scored 2 in the 2nd and 1 in the 5th. The lead 3-0. 2-2 now.
Greg Minton has given up a couple of home runs this year, and if you think that's not unusual, consider this. He worked 269 in the 3rd innings from 1978 to May 2nd, 1982 without giving up a home run. Almost 5 years.
And he strikes out Johnson to end the 8th inning. So a single, a caught stealing, nobody left. Here in the 8th inning for New York, the Doctor will take his 3-0 lead into the 9th after this from Manufacturers Hanover.
Well, it's double the action and double the fun when the National League's #1 team, the Mets, of course, take on the Padres of San Diego in an exciting doubleheader. Tune in Friday evening at 5:30 right here on Channel 9. We'll have baseball all night long.
We will be here en masse. Bob Brenly will lead off the 9th inning against Dwight Gooden with the Mets leading 3-0. Brenly tonight 0 for 3. He has struck out twice and fly deep to center. Then he takes the ball low. Dwight Gooden going for his 13th victory in a row, his 13th complete game, and his 6th shutout to run his record to 19-3. And he's high to Brenly. It's 2-0. Dwight has now struck out 206 in 210 2/3 innings. He leads the major leagues, of course, in that department, and his league-leading ERA of 1.82, should he finish the 9th with a shutout here, will drop even further. Fastball fouled back, 2-1.
Since the history of, or since the beginning of baseball, and its illustrious history, I should say, only 50 pitchers at any one time have ever won 13 or more games in a season.
That's the upper crust.
Consecutive, that is.
Foul back right at us.
Tom Shaffrey, our AD, didn't budge, and had that ball been about a foot higher, it'd have been Cake City.
The reason he didn't budge is because he didn't see it coming. If he had seen it coming, he might have left the booth entirely.
Reason we didn't budge, it wasn't aimed at us. Had it been coming for us, we'd have been out of here.
Headsets rattling all the way. 2-2 to Brenly. Did he get him? Yes, says first base umpire Dave Pallone. Strikeout number 15 for the Doctor. It is a new high this season for Gooden.
And he's one shy of his high set on September 12th of 1984 when he struck out 16. And then his next outing against the Phillies, he struck out 16. A new major league high for the year.
The Mets are 61-1 when they take a lead into the 9th inning. Gooden, of course, when he takes a lead into the 9th inning,
he's been part of that.
It's a big reason. Jose Uribe takes Lord Charles for strike one. Uribe has struck out twice and is 0 for 3 on the night. That's high, 1-1.
The modern record for consecutive wins during a season, Rube Marquard, back with the New York Giants back in 1912. Padres 1-0 over the Expos.
An easy play for Dwight, and 2 out in the 9th. So the Giants will send up a pinch hitter in the person of Rob Deere. A young man with a little bit of power in his bat, only batting .194, however, 3 home runs and 10 RBIs. As a pinch hitter, he is 4 for 20 with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs.
If Gooden wins this game, it will be the most consecutive victories also in the major leagues this year, with 13 straight. He has not lost a ball game since May 25th. Ron Guidry also won 12 in a row this year.
A strike called, 0-1. Big curveball, 0-2, and the crowd comes to its feet in total. Dwight Gooden has struck out 16 to tie his career high. He has won his 13th game in a row. It is his 13th complete game and 6th shutout of the year. His record is now 19-3. He has an opportunity to become the youngest player to win 20 games in one season. That, of course, he'll have an opportunity to do that in his next start. But what a performance by the doctor as he and Darryl Strawberry celebrate, scattering 7 hits and striking out 16 while walking only 3. The doctor was in tonight.
I'll tell you, if I'm Davy Johnson, I don't want Dwight Gooden shaking elbows with anybody, especially when they're right elbows.
Limit that to left elbows only. Have to modify that a little bit. The losing pitcher is Jim Gott, who is 4-9 on the year, and the Mets have an opportunity tonight to increase their lead in the National League East. Tim and I'll be back to wrap it up for you. And Ralph is standing by with Kiner's Corner. The final again, the doctor and the Mets over the Giants 3-0. Now a word from Michelob Light. The Mets, behind the Dwight Gooden 16 strikeout shutout performance, beat the San Francisco Giants in the first of this 3-game series 3-0 here tonight before better than 38,000 total in the house. And the way other games are going in the National League, the Mets can also increase their lead over both the Cardinals and the Montreal Expos with this victory here tonight. And it was all the doctor. What can you say? Earlier this year, he set his previous season high by striking out 14 Giants in Candlestick Park against the Giants. And tonight, he ties his career mark of 16 strikeouts in one game and picks up not only his 13th victory in a row, the most in the major leagues this year, but his 13th complete game and 6th shutout of the year. And Timmy, every time we see him pitch, it seems like we find something else out about him that is even more amazing or certainly on the positive side.
I think it would be a little bit different if Dwight Gooden were on a second division ball club, because he wouldn't be considered the stopper that he has become. In modern history, or even maybe in the history of the great game of baseball, I don't think anybody has taken over the role as stopper. A guy who can go out there once every 4 or 5 days, and you feel reasonably sure that you have a chance to win if you get a couple of runs. The Mets got a couple of runs in the second inning tonight, and that's really all that Gooden needed. His 6th shutout of the year. He is now only the second man in history of baseball that has struck out 200 or more in his first 2 seasons, and on and on and on. It's a veritable litany of. He is now 36-12 in his major league career, and that means he's won 3 out of every 4 games he started as a decisions. He only has 10 no decisions in a year and 3 quarters.
And it's amazing. Really, he is 19-3 this year, and as we mentioned, in his next start, will have an opportunity to become the youngest pitcher ever to win 20 games in a season. Well, it's not surprising that Dwight Gooden is the player of the game and is involved in the play of the game as he struck out his 200th batter. Only Herb Score had done this previously in his first 2 seasons. 4th inning, a called 3rd strike to Bob Brenly. 200 of the season for Dwight. He went on to get 8 more tonight. So he has 208 strikeouts in 211 2/3 innings to lead the major leagues. Old Spice salutes Dwight Gooden as our player of the game for passing that magic 200 strikeout mark and becoming only the 2nd player in major league history to do it in each of his first 2 seasons.
And, Steve, can you imagine how very difficult it is with Dwight Gooden? Everybody standing up. Every time an opposing hitter gets 2 strikes on him, everybody at Shea Stadium is standing up. And it's got to be disconcerting with the exception of one thing. Dwight Gooden's almost like he's pitching in a little room playing a game by himself. You can see that piercing concentration, and that along with his incredible fastball and his curveball are really some of the remarkable things about this young man, a truly remarkable young man.
And the Mets got him some runs tonight. And, boy, when you get the doctor an early lead, and the way he seems to get stronger throughout the ball game, and particularly with a relatively cool evening here tonight, not giving him the problems of perspiration that he had in his previous start when he couldn't really grip that curveball, he just took command. And, boy, I'll tell you, I haven't seen a guy in a long time, and I know you caught Gibson and some great pitchers, Carlton, but he's one of those guys that can smell a victory, and you can see him just turn it on. And then it's all over, basically.
I don't think people usually combine or have the combination of greatness and competitiveness. because usually with a talented pitcher like Gooden is, you talk more about his talent. You don't talk about his competitive drive. But that competition's all inside, and it's wrapped into a little neat ball with that piercing concentration that we were talking about. He sure is fun to watch, and hope you enjoyed it tonight.
Rafael Santana got the game-winning RBI as the Mets scored 2 early. They went on to get a third one, and the doctor was in complete control. The line score on the ball game for the Mets: 3 runs on 8 hits and 1 error. The Giants, no runs, 7 hits and no errors. Dwight Gooden wins it. He is 19-3, his 13th win in a row, 13th complete game, and 6th shutout. The loser is Jim Gott, who is 4-9 on the year. Tim?
All right, Steve. New York Mets baseball has been brought to you by Michelob Light, super premium taste in a less filling beer. Who says you can't have it all? By Nissan, builders of technologically advanced cars and trucks for over 50 years. For drivers who demand quality, the name is Nissan. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By Garcia Vega Cigars, you can relax and enjoy a cigar anytime. Garcia Vega, still an honest cigar. By RC Cola. People go out of their way for the taste of RC. And, of course, by the Bell Atlantic Yellow Pages. Be sure to stay tuned, fans, for Korner's Corner. As always, following our broadcast tonight, Ralph's special guest, of course, Dwight Gooden, who is now 19-3. Also, a reminder, be with us again on Friday when the Mets take on the San Diego Padres at 5:30, a big doubleheader right here on WOR. Mets Baseball 85 is produced by Bill Webb and Carl Shurkin. Directed by Bill Webb. Associate Directors Jeff Mitchell and Tom Schaffery. Technical Operations Manager Arthur Gress. Technical Director Robert Goodman. Promotional consideration was provided by True Value Hardware Stores and Home Centers, bringing the world beautiful music with the Sanyo multi-band, multi-voltage stereo radio cassette recorder. Mets Baseball 85 is a production of Channel 9 Sports. Production facilities arranged through Vanda Communications. Also, the announcers on the preceding telecast were approved and contracted for by Doubleday Sports Incorporated. So until Friday here on WOR, stay well, everybody.
To be. By NatWest USA, the people and the resources you need today. And by Texaco, makers of Texaco Super Unleaded. When you're on the road, trust your car to the products with the star.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Korner's Corner. And as you would expect, the star of the ball game, Dwight Gooden, who had a fantastic game here tonight, as Dwight won it by a score of 3-0. And Dwight, you got off to kind of a slow start, and after your last outing, when you did have a lot of trouble with the ball being wet with sweat and you couldn't throw your curveball, tonight you established your curveball early.
Yeah, it started early. The first inning was a little rough, and I found myself overthrowing a little bit, and I had to just, tell myself to relax and, take it easy and, go from what I did early in the season.
When you warm up in the bullpen, have you got an idea of what's going to happen in the ball game, or does that help?
Usually when I warm up, I just try to, work on my all-speed pitches more than my fastball, but make sure I get enough fastballs in, and mainly just think of the hitters that I want to pitch around and the ones that don't want to hurt me when men's on base.
Now, how did you learn that? Did you learn that just by watching? Did you learn it from someone else in the club?
Well, just, talking to a lot of veteran players on the team and, pitching coach and just picking up things, as games going on.
We had 14 strikeouts against the Giants earlier this year, and of course that was put you in a tie for the most strikeouts this year, and this game was 15. They swung an awful lot of curveballs that were out of the strike zone, but you had a great curve.
Right, I went more with the breaking balls, and Gary was calling some key pitches at the right time for his location also, and I figured they were sitting on a fastball in a lot of situations. I went to the hard curveball instead of the slow one.
Were you disappointed about the last time out when you got a ND, no decision, and that's the hardest you've been hit this year?
I was a little disappointed, but, I figured as long as you pitch, you're going to have bad games, and just happened we scored a lot of runs that day. 13
in a row as a winning pitcher, that's not too bad. That's an all-time record for a Met.
Yeah, that's all the time. That feels great, and hopefully I can continue the rest of the season.
Talking with Dwight Gooden, we'll be back to look at the highlights of his pitching out here today in just a moment. right after this message from Mitsubishi Motors. Well, our guest in the show, Dwight Gooden, who struck out 15 batters. Only one other pitcher has struck out 200 batters in his first 2 years in the major leagues. And, of course, Dwight Gooden here today did that even over the 200 mark in this ballgame. Dwight, that's quite an accomplishment.
It's a great honor. Some, always remember down in my career.
Well, let's take a look at the action. You got off to a real shaky start. In the first inning, you got a break when, after a base hit by Wellman, Davis got a base hit, and Davis was so not trying to steal. And then after a walk to Dreesen and a walk to Chris Brown, you pitched to Joel Youngblood. And this pitch right here, the first of your strikeouts.
It was a curveball. It was one of my hard curveballs, and it was a good call by the umpire, I thought.
And the strikeout completed when Davis stepped on home plate. I should say Carter stepped on home plate for the force play to complete the strikeout. Now in the top of the second, you made a good play here, and the ball hit right back at you.
Yeah, the ball was hit right back at me, and just so happened I got it, off that first hop.
And your reactions were great right there. And, of course, that comes from playing the infield when you were in high school and also basketball. And there's your 200 strikeout right there. A fastball got him looking.
That was a good pitch, and the crowd, was behind me. And after that, when the crowd was on their feet, that really got me pumped the rest of the game.
3-2 pitch right there. The runner going on the pitch, and another big strikeout. Again, that curveball. That strikeout 203. Now this is really a tough spot right here. Runners at first and third. And you got Youngblood to pop up. He had singled earlier.
That was tough right there, and I know that he's capable of hitting the ball at the park any time, and so I wanted to go in on the best pitch, which is the fastball.
And here's strikeout number 15, the most strikeouts by a pitcher this year in Major League Baseball. And later on, you get your 16th. So a great game for you out here. And, of course, you have 16 strikeouts. That ties your season high. Do you think you were going to go to 16? Do you ever think about 18 or 19?
No, I never thought about it, and I think it just came from hitting the right locations at the right time and making the right pitch at the right time.
Well, we looked at all the good things. One guy you couldn't get out very well. That was Davis, Chili Davis. How about him? Let's take a look at his action in the ball game. Chili, his first time up in the ball game. That was in the first.
Yeah, Chili, he usually, swings back pretty well off me, and I try to use the off-speed pitches to get ahead, and that makes my fastball look that much quicker.
And his next time up, Chili Davis hit one run back to the middle for his second hit of the ball game. And then after that, he hit a single to right field and was 3 for 4 for the night. So he had a good day in spite of the fact that you had a greater day.
Right, he had a good day with the bat, and I'm just, fortunate and lucky that one about on base when he was getting the hits.
Well, that's because you're the pitcher. I'm sure that you had a little more when it gets tough. Well, Dwight, a great game out here, and the Met fans certainly appreciated it. It must have been a thrill to see those people up there yelling for those strikeouts.
It was a great, feeling, just that makes you, work much harder and make great pitches.
It looks like they pump you up a little bit.
Yeah, they do. When you got the crowd like that behind you, just got all the confidence in the world and just feel like, there's no way you can lose.
Well, Dwight, again, congratulations. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ralph.
We'll be back to look at the highlights of the ball game. Also, check out the scoreboard right after this message from NatWest USA.
In baseball, it's wise to expect the unexpected. Out-of-this-world occurrences all over the majors, as oddball bounces and offbeat bloopers make for some mighty peculiar plays. An exceptional hitter with rare talent writes an unusual story, surprising one and all with his unorthodox approach to the game. Weird, bizarre, strange. Far-out words that apply to a far-out game that lasted until weird, bizarre, strange hours of the night. An extraordinary pitcher with uncommon ability shows that he's different from the rest in either league. So stay tuned for unconventional happenings that are off the wall on This Week in Baseball. National League drama. In Atlanta, a long night's journey into day. It was a rainy night in Georgia when the Mets and Braves began a wild and wacky affair. The rain caused 2 hours of delays, but the Mets wasted no time as they ignored the elements and took a 1-0 lead before the Braves even came to bat. From then on, you had to see this game to believe it. 7-4 Mets in the last of the 8th when the clock struck midnight, and Dale Murphy struck big. Murphy capped off a 4-run uprising with a 3-run double to give the Braves an 8-7 edge. Rookie Len Dykstra made sure the lead was short-lived when he batted with 2 on in the 9th and tied the score. The game then went into extra innings and sailed along until the 13th, when somewhere around 2 a.m., the Mets got a big boost from Howard Johnson. That ball is going, it is gone. And the Mets were up 10-8. With 2 out in their half of the inning, the Braves played a little long ball night music of their own when Terry Harper batted for the 7th time.
And the 0-2. There's a drive to left. If it's fair, it is fair. It's a tie ball game. Harper hit the foul pole.
But this epic was far from over. New York went ahead in the 18th, again pushing the Braves to the brink of defeat. Reliever Rick Camp had to bat, there being no pinch hitters left, and with 2 out, 2 strikes on Camp, well, you talk about the unexpected.
And he is at the deep left. Heat goes back. It is gone. Holy cow. Oh, my goodness. I don't believe it. That certifies this game as the wackiest, wildest, most improbable game in history.
Ray Knight reconfirmed that when he came up in the 19th. After stranding 10 runners earlier in the game, he doubled in the game winner. Ron Darling made a rare relief appearance and struck out Rick Camp on the 598th pitch, ending this 8-hour affair at 4 a.m. with a score